are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and this is...
I'm also Kevin.
So, also Kevin. Kevin. We're Star Trek fans, we're Star Wars fans, we enjoy science fiction. We like Marvel, we like DC, we enjoy this stuff, we have fun with it. But in all of it, there are things that just annoy us, bug us.
Drive you nuts. Just everywhere.
So today, we're going to pick on Star Wars. For a lot of people my age, Star Wars was that entry point into science fiction. Kevin, what was your first science fiction? I don't remember. Was it Star Wars?
I think so.
So, a lot of us have watched this, and we don't even think about some of the stuff we see there anymore.
Yeah.
And I think for me, one of the biggest issues I have with Star Wars is the Death Star. Now, I love the Death Star. It's cool.
Yeah. Very cool, very menacing. I would not want to see it show up on our doorstep.
Exactly. And in Rogue One, when you see the weapon emerging out of the shell of the Death Star, it's cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
When you see a Star Destroyer flying in front of it, it's impressive. It really is. But
there are a few problems.
Like, why do these big capital ships park in front of the big gun?
It makes no sense at all. They line up to be shot.
I agree. This is a problem for me. If I were the Admiral, if I were Akbar, and saying it's a trap, I would say fly around behind the thing. Exactly. Now, I realize this bit of tactical revelation is mind-blowing, but the truth is, if you park behind the big gun, it can't shoot at you.
Exactly. It's just... then they would have nothing to do, but if you're out of the range of their turbo lasers, they just have to send other ships at you.
Now, that's not to say they don't have other ships. They've got TIE fighters, they've got Star Destroyers, they've got all kinds of stuff to bring at you. It's not like you're going to be parked behind the thing bored and waiting for the paint to dry. No.
But still, it would be a lot easier. And that kind of brings us to our next point. Still about the Death Star. There weren't many TIE fighters at the Battle of Yavin, were there?
No, there weren't.
It looked like 5.
But in their defense, it's not like the rebels sent an armada after them. There was like, what, less than 30 ships? Or less than 40 ships, something like this?
That, but still, they could send hundreds upon hundreds of TIE fighters. At least they should have been able to.
Oh, I think they could have, but you got to think that at some point there'd be too many TIE fighters.
Yeah. Maybe.
But still, the whole notion that something this big, this powerful can be blown up by a little X-Wing,
makes no sense.
It's crazy to me.
Except, it makes sense when you watch Rogue One.
Right, I get that. But still, this thing's huge. It's massive. It's gigantic. Yeah. It's meant to intimidate. And it does its job very well, except when it comes to blowing things up. How many planets did the first one blow up? Yes, it did give Jeddah a shave.
And it also did something to... I'm blanking on the name. That's not good.
Well,
Scarif.
Thank you.
Chasing off Jeddah and Scarif in Rogue One, but still.
But the second one never blew up anything but ships.
Yeah.
It never even got finished before it was toasted.
Why build it in the first place?
That's a good question.
All its functions could be carried out not as well, but pretty decently by Star Destroyers. Think about it. Planetary bombardment would be enough.
I agree. Now, it might be that a fleet of Star Destroyers won't blow up a planet, but they can make it uninhabitable.
For hundreds of thousands of years, possibly.
And for a whole lot less money.
Of course.
I don't know what the bottom line was on Death Star 1 or Death Star 2, but I can imagine there would have been at least a fleet of Star Destroyers, if not fleets, right?
Yeah.
You see, this reminds me of the Nazi mega weapons series that some of you have probably seen on PBS. In particular, the one on the Channel Islands. Here, the Germans put these huge guns on
Few islands.
on a few islands.
They could shoot to 25 to 30 miles, if I'm correct.
Yes, absolutely. And do you know how many ships they blew up?
Nada.
You know why? Because the Allies just stayed away from them.
Smart.
These islands were massively fortified, but there was never an invasion on these islands. And Hitler wasted huge resources. Big guns, thousands of troops, hundreds of thousands of man-hours, and what did he get for it? Nada. Squat. You think about it, what did the Empire get from 2 Death Stars? Not a whole lot. 1 planet, Alderaan. Okay, that was huge. Millions of people like that.
Yeah.
But
Still, it wasn't that much in the grand scheme of things.
no.
It was blown up right after.
Now,
So,
I will say Starkiller Base
why?
falls into the same category for me.
Of course, except it might even be worse.
It's bigger. It's more expensive. It does blow up a whole system of planets. And then it gets...
Toasted.
What do they get in the long run? Nada, zip, squat. Wasted money, wasted time, wasted resources.
A lot of things are wasted with the Death Stars.
Are they cool? Yes, they are. Is it good in a movie?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Does it make sense? Not at all. And for me, I think this really gets at the question here for me. Why build this in the first place?
Didn't we already ask that?
I suppose, but for me it's part of a bigger question. In the Star Wars universe, there is what I would say is a general lack of technological advancement.
The only thing is, hey, we can blow up more. Yay!
Same technologies, just made bigger.
That's about all.
I mean, Star Destroyers are not all that different from the Clone War era Republic.
They were actually also called Star Destroyers. They're just different classes.
Same technology. Kevin, I think you had mentioned the Hammerhead Corvette.
Yes, the Hammerhead Corvette. Cool ship. You might remember it from Rogue One. It was the ship that pushed the Star Destroyer into the other Star Destroyer.
Which brought down the shield.
Yeah, which was really cool.
Definitely. But wait a second. Didn't we see a Star Destroyer being pushed into or dropping into another thing and blowing it up? Oh, yeah, that was the Death Star 2. Sorry.
Also, so that Hammerhead Corvette actually is based on a design from the Old Republic era.
So this goes back, what, 1,000 years?
Yeah, maybe more.
And they haven't made any real advancements since?
Not much. They've been in space for millennia, still are not that much more advanced.
Now, as we said at the opening, we're also Star Trek fans.
Yep.
Now, do you think in 1,000 years of Star Trek you're going to see changes in technology?
Oh my, yes.
In fact, you'll see that in, 70 years between TOS and TNG.
There's a massive advancement. And then in... Oh, what was it? Oh, yes. In Voyager, you had these guys from the 29th century who were vastly superior to the technology that they had in Voyager.
So we see this great technological advancement in Star Trek, but we don't see it at all
In Star
in
Wars.
Star Wars. And, I mean, for those of you who want to argue that AT-ATs are a technological advancement over the troop transports that were used in the Clone War era,
ATSTs.
they had wheels, right?
No, they had 6
Oh,
legs.
they had 6 legs.
And then there were also the wheeled ones.
I still think wheels are better.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, come on. You've got this huge troop transport that you can tie a string around its toes, and it's going to fall on its
why
face.
didn't it just stop when that happened?
Now there is a staggering question.
Or why can't they just cut the ropes off?
Or you'd think that they'd be strong enough to power through them?
Yeah, I mean, They're giant things.
Apparently, Imperial engineers never thought of the possibility of someone using cable to tie them up.
No, they did not, fortunately.
And it's a good thing that Yavin was flat.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't flat, they couldn't have walked up an incline.
No, they could not have.
See, I think this just points to the problem with Imperial design. It's big, it's scary.
It's menacing. And that's kind of its point. The Imperial army was meant to scare the galaxy into submission. Obviously it failed.
Obviously. And at the end of the day, AT-ATs, or as I prefer to call them, AT-ATs, I know that's not correct, just don't work. They don't make any sense.
No, they don't.
But I think this, to me, brings up some of the underlying tensions. You know, at a certain point, I would say the Jedi and the Sith, the Republic and the Empire, there's really not that much difference. The average bureaucrat in the Empire was the average bureaucrat in the Republic.
In some ways, the Empire was better.
More order.
More order.
Less confusion.
Less confusion, of course.
I think I would vote for Palpatine in that regard.
Yeah.
And the Empire doesn't steal babies.
No, they don't. They wait till the recruitment person who is already has a lot of bad things happening to them in life, and they are already filled with hate and need to destroy things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not baby snatchers.
And the Jedi clearly were.
Yeah.
Here's a child, Force sensitive. Ooh, we have to take them so we can raise them. They become a good.
So here's the common scenario that would lay out. So I'm the baby snatcher Jedi, and I'm going to take his baby. And he's going to say no. So, your baby's Force sensitive. We need him.
No, you can't take my baby mouse.
You will give me the baby mouse.
Oh, here's the baby mouse.
Okay. Goodbye.
Hey, wait a second. What just happened?
I know, right?
My child has just been kidnapped by the Jedi who are supposed to be the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy? Wait a second.
That doesn't sound right.
No, can't be. But it is. It's nice when things are black and white, easy to discern who the bad guys are and who the good guys are.
But that is not the case here.
No, it's not.
Even though George Lucas makes it look like it.
Now, don't get me wrong. Star Wars is fun. We have enjoyed it tremendously.
Yes.
But, are there things about the Jedi that drive me nuts? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
They're closed off. They're secretive. They claim to be dispassionate. And yet they function in almost identical ways to the Sith.
It's crazy.
So how can they really be the good guys?
Are they?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Leave us some comments, and we'll be glad to continue the conversation on another day.
Yeah.
So, if you've got things that drive you nuts and want to join the conversation, hey, let us know.
And if you have any disagreements with what we said,
let us know again. Because, we're just talking about things that drive us nuts. And if you've got another way of seeing this, we'd like to hear and include you in the conversation.
But kind of there's an answer for most of these.
What's that?
Just to make the movies look cooler.
And sometimes that's exactly what we need to say. Because this is not real life, is it?
No.
And it's fun, it's entertaining, and if it makes you think about something worthwhile, then it's been a good thing.
Yeah.
Hey, till next time, have fun, enjoy the movies, enjoy the shows, and do something nice for somebody.